Why is the dollar so expensive? Here's an explanation. The common answer you hear is that oil prices are very low, and as a result, the dollar is getting more expensive. That answer is true, but it's vague. What is the actual link between the two? How does that dynamic work, and why on earth is the central bank mentioned in that explanation? Well, let's start from the beginning. No single person sets the dollar price, and there is no single price. Instead, many entities are exchanging dollars and pesos every day, and each decides the rate that suits them, meaning they decide how much they are willing to pay for one currency against another. The figure seen on the news is a representative data point. It is the average of those transactions, or rather, the weighted average. Now, why would someone want a currency other than their own? Because they want a product or service from another country and must use the local currency to buy it? No mystery there. However, the question that reveals the essence of the matter is why foreigners don't accept our local pesos. Or let's ask if someone from Kazakhstan wants to buy us a coffee, why don't we accept their tench? Seen that way, the answer is obvious because we wouldn't know what to do with it unless we had frequent trade relations with them. In the same way, foreigners aren't so willing to accept our pesos because it's not usual for them to buy things in our currency. The moral of all this is that a currency is desired based on its ability to buy things. Let's go back to the exchange houses. In the real world, there are commercial banks, financial corporations, brokerage firms, and other entities that buy and sell dollars. But for the sake of explanation, we can just imagine a person at a window buying and selling currency. For this person, the business consists of buying currency at one price and selling it a bit higher. And just like with anything one sells, part of the price depends on the seller's whim. But another part depends on the competition, meaning an exchange house can sell dollars as high as they want, but not so high that no one buys because the competition offers them cheaper. In conclusion, the dollar is expensive because exchange houses can afford to sell it at that price. But how so? Why can they afford that? Is it really just a whim? No, it's not really a whim, but rather how supply and demand work. Exchange houses are selling the dollar high because there is high demand for dollars. It is very sought after. And there are fewer dollars in the country because fewer foreigners are interested in buying our goods or investing here. Specifically, one of the key things they have stopped buying from us is oil. But before we talk oil, let's clarify. The dollar is expensive for the same reason avocados get pricey when there's a bad harvest. Because there are few in the market and many people want them. People willing to pay more. So why are there so few dollars? We could talk about China's economic slowdown, Federal Reserve policies, and many other factors. However, the oil case is a perfect example. We export coffee, flowers, and many other goods to the global market. But oil was a huge piece of the pie, as you may have heard. The price per barrel dropped from $100 to $30 in under 2 years. Fuel exports plummeted by 47% in the span of just 1 year. The reason? Among other things, fracking, but that is a topic for another video we already made. The point is we are receiving far fewer dollars. That's a mess. This leads to a chain of consequences like fiscal gaps, tax reforms, and inflation, risks to foreign investment, and other issues that, for the average person, mean more expensive computers, phones, and impossible debts. Plus costlier furniture and food since their production depends on imports. And what we import, we buy in dollars, and the dollar is more expensive. Now, what role does the central bank play? They buy and sell dollars, but with a different purpose than a typical currency exchange. They aren't looking for a profit, but to maintain financial stability in the country. In other words, it is a control mechanism. To reach their goal, they counterbalance the exchange houses. If they have few dollars and sell them high, the bank sells its reserves hoping the price drops due to the added competition. It's like adding more avocados to the stand. When the local currency strengthens, meaning you can buy more with the same money, the bank hides its dollars to reduce supply. How does that contribute to financial stability? It depends on the situation. For example, when the dollar price rises for a while, there's a risk that people buy dollars not to use them, but to hoard them and sell them later for a profit. The issue here is that it reduces the supply of dollars in circulation, not due to trade or the exchange of goods between nations, but purely due to speculation. That is when the bank releases its dollars into the market to stabilize things. Another situation where the bank might act is when the dollar price shifts so rapidly that people cannot adapt. In those cases, the bank can sell its dollars so the changes aren't so abrupt, giving importers and exporters enough time to react. Of course, the central bank's job is not to release its dollars automatically. The bank must read the context to see if influencing the economy is a good idea at any given moment, especially considering it is bad business for the bank to play the role of a counterweight to exchange houses. Doing that means losing money. The bank's main mission is controlling inflation, and it decides to intervene based on that and other goals. And that brings us to today's situation. People talk about the dollar price and the central bank because whenever there are abrupt changes, the question of intervention is always in the air, and if so, to what extent? Unfortunately, those debates are beyond our reach. The fact is that the central bank acts as a control mechanism, but it lacks the absolute power to determine exactly what the dollar is worth. And that is not a mistake. It is by design. Exchange rates represent a reality that isn't just about numbers or paper, but about the exchange of goods and services between people in different countries. The dollar rose because the rest of the world is a bit less interested in what we have to offer. It is that simple and that complex. If you are interested in an explanatory video like this, visit us at magicmarkerspro.com, and for those who don't need an explanation but want to support us, follow us